Raising and educating a child is one of the most important responsibilities we can have. It's about shaping not just minds, but hearts, instilling values, wisdom, and a sense of purpose. Every moment of love builds the foundation for their future, empowering them to become the best version of themselves. Investing in a child's growth is an investment in a better tomorrow. The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next.
So education is a huge issue for parents. Every parent wants to provide a good education for their kids, and every parent is looking for the best fit because each of our children are different. I have 6 children and each of them have unique needs. Okay, you're gonna have to flip them pretty soon. Did you put salt and pepper? Okay, so just about everybody likes something a little bit different with their toast and their breakfast, and you know, I made you no toast. You didn't want any? So Jocelyn has sunny side up on her toast. Katie has jelly with her eggs on the side. Jack, peanut butter and bananas. Okay, chores. Jack, you're gonna get the eggs. Colton, later, after some schoolwork, you gotta get some of your schoolwork done first. But for a break, you and Jack can work outside and rake the leaves that are on that tree out there. So I totally understand the mom's perspective. Like, as a mom, we feel so much pressure constantly to make sure our kids are eating the right diet. Is everything healthy? Is everything organic? Is everything homemade, farm fresh? All those things. And I feel like I fail in that area, and definitely feel a sense of pressure when it comes to what they eat, and that carries over into every part of being a mom. I'm Delina Wallace, the founder of Heartland Education Reformation Organization, also known as HERO. HERO is an organization that was created to support Christian educators who are school founders, and they are creating their own schools. And the organization, the HERO organization, is to rally the church to be supportive of them and to come alongside them in their work as they are on the mission field and educating kids. 85, kindergarten, and 86. I don't know, things started to go downhill.
Your behavior in class? Yeah.
No, I just started to go through a really awkward stage, you know? I don't really like all my pictures of beyond. Kindergarten was really sweet and cute. First grade was okay, and then it got weird. My goodness. So that was, okay, so you were teaching what grade then?
Probably 3rd and 4th. That's Cindy Mounts,
Yeah.
I believe.
I can't believe you were my teacher in 3rd grade. And now, like, you're helping me, and Jack's in 3rd grade, and now you're helping to teach him a little bit. So that's so awesome.
Yeah. So.
But like at the time, I never would have realized, you know, what a blessing it was to be at this school and to be in that kind of an environment. And now that I'm a mom, and I would just, you know, give anything to have the opportunity to have my kids have this. You know, we homeschool, and it's great. It's great for them, and it's great for us. And we've got our co-op classes and stuff. But there is definitely something special about this time and this season.
Right.
It was such an investment into my life.
Yeah. Yeah, we were very blessed to get you in a Christian school there, and
here's a little picture.
Teach
Just
there.
starting to.
There you go. I think it's important to as far as Christian education is concerned, to not just focus on the literacy part of it and math and English and so forth, but you're really building character into the kids as well, and speaking in biblical truth into them. That's what makes Christian education and so much different than the public school forum, because that's just not allowed there as much. Some it is, but in the Christian setting, you can actually invest in the kids, and it's our mandate as a nation to train our kids in the ways of God, and that's what the Bible tells us in Deuteronomy, to train them in the way that they should go, and the Word tells us when they're old they'll not depart from it. So I think as educators we can do that and have that responsibility and that privilege of investing in kids, and then they can have a better future.
Those of us in education have held on to a business plan that we don't care how many millions of young people fail. We're going to continue to do the same thing that didn't work.
Nearly 70% of teachers have considered leaving the profession entirely.
Traditional education is a complete disaster, socio-emotionally and academically. It's failed the next generation. And we as believers have to step up. It's our responsibility to step up and to do something. John Taylor Gatto, one of my favorite authors, wrote the book Dumbing Us Down. If you haven't read that and Thomas Jefferson's Thomas Jefferson Education, great books. He said, government monopoly schools are structurally unreformable. They're doing exactly what they were designed to do. So trying to reform them, trying to change them is a losing battle at the end of the day. We have a new method, a new methodology, data-driven.
What's happening in the public school system and with our youngest generations, friends, it is so tragic when we see the age of onset, the introduction to pornography, when we see the hypersexualization of 2-year-olds, toddlers even, in our culture. It's insane what's happening. The purity is being stripped away from the next generation. We're pulling kids out of a pure, joyful existence and into a seedy existence where they've become the prey of older people who are literally just trying to steal their innocence.
We have drawn a very clear line in the sand that says our school system is for educating kids, not indoctrinating kids.
Another blaring example, drag queen story time. It's happening in Canada and America.
It's such a crisis. And I think parents, we want to think the school down the street, they're friends. I know the teachers, some of them are Christians, yes, but they're yoked to an anti-God, anti-family entity that is literally trying to uproot the biblical worldview in our kids. Attachment form 0 to 6. That's your window, mom and dad. Worldview form 0 to 12. Barring a miracle, we don't often change our worldview after 12 years old. And so that's the window. That's the season of development that God has given us to pour into our children. Let's not waste it. Let's not squander it. Let's look around what's really happening. This is not a time to have our heads in the sands, mom and dad. This is a time to really be aware the enemy is going after our kids full force, and we've got to stop him. We got to step in. We got to do something. Speak up, speak out. We got to turn the tide for the next generation.
Okay, we're gonna count your money. Are you ready? $1, $2. Ready? We're gonna count by tens. 10,
12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
So $2.80, 80.
And outside education to me looks like the children explore and learn everything in the great outdoors. So they plant, they play with bugs, they do all the building. And I always tell teachers everywhere, I'm trying to get so many schools to be outside. There is nothing that they do inside they cannot do outside, nothing. So we take all of our paperwork outside, we do our books outside, we do everything, our one-on-one education. And I just believe that, well, you can hear it. There's children everywhere and you don't hear squabbles, you don't hear arguments, you don't hear fighting, you don't hear anything but pure joy from the children. So it's greater outdoor learning, and I think that it works.
So I believe that families need lots of options when it comes to educating their kids. I love homeschooling. I think it's been wonderful, but I know a lot of families that are unable to do that. And traditionally, we've had 3 options. We've been able to send our kids to the public school, maybe hope for the best. We've been able to send our kids, if we can afford it, to send them to a private school, and then the other option's been to homeschool. But a lot of families can't do or don't want to do any of those options. And so looking for some alternatives is what makes me passionate about this work.
My mission statement, number 1, is to let children be children. We do not have technology here at our school, so we are an outside school, so we are outside 80 to 90% of our day, and this is their world. And so we allow them to explore and to set up how they want, what they want to do, because I feel like every single child has to adapt to the parents' world. I also want them to come to the saving knowledge of Christ. That's my number 1 goal, is that they treat faith as a personal relationship and that they lean on Jesus every single day, and to reach every single child that God has put into my school. And I know that it is for a reason. Sometimes it's just for a season, but I know that every single child is here for a reason, and that my goal is to give them a free education that is quality and that is faith-based. So.
Micro schools are becoming a huge part of faith-based education. A micro school is a small, personalized learning environment, typically with fewer students and more one-on-one attention. It focuses on tailored education, allowing kids to learn at their own pace, fostering creativity and building strong relationships. It's an innovative way to put students' needs first, ensuring they thrive academically and emotionally.
I believe that faith-based microschools are so important because we are looking for, as parents, we're looking for options that align with our values. And oftentimes families cannot afford to send their kids to a traditional private Christian school. And we want something that's going to align and to reaffirm the faith and the values that we are trying to instill in our kids as we are discipling them at home.
Education from the earliest days, even the settlers who were arriving here in the early 1600s had a very clear biblical understanding of education. Actually, the first education law ever passed in North America, this was early 1640s. The people who set up the Massachusetts Bay Colony passed what they called the Old Deluder Satan Act, and that tells you a lot about their mindset. And the premise of the law was that Satan, that old deluder, had as one of his chief projects depriving men of knowledge of the scriptures. And so they said it is essential that everybody in this colony know how to read so that they can read their Bible so that Satan won't deceive them. Now, they didn't set up a government school system like we have today. In fact, there was virtually no distinction between church and state at that time because it was, in the truest sense, a Bible colony. They came to live out their faith. The government was thoroughly Christian. Everything was Christian. And so there was no difference between, say, church and state.
When it comes to things like education, data shows that those policies are getting a failing grade in the city's public schools, and they have for a long time.
Sadly, even describing it as a failing grade seems generous when last year only 1 out of every 4 Chicago public school students could read at grade level, and only 17% were proficient in math.
I actually got to speak with a few teachers. One of them actually decided to go on camera with me, but they all tell me this: it's one of the most difficult times in their careers.
Wow, this is always a tough job.
Brevard County High School teacher Dan Bennett says the word frustrated doesn't cover it.
Education is a tremendous mission field right now because as we look across the landscape of all the way from preschool to college, and we see that children have significantly changed. We look back 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and we see joy and playfulness and happiness. And today we see anxiety and depression and angst. The faces of children have changed. Their interaction with one another has changed. We now see kids who used to be in face-to-face relationships spending 65% of their relational time on a phone. And as a result, they've lost interpersonal skills, they've lost warmth, they've lost the joy that once characterized childhood. And I think we're seeing it such a macro level now that we know that we've got to take it back today, right now.
More and more, people are recognizing the value of faith-based education. It's not just about academics, it's about shaping character, fostering moral growth, and instilling purpose. Parents, educators, and communities are embracing schools that nurture both the mind and the spirit, creating well-rounded individuals ready for life's challenges.
Oh, you think you can do this shape?
No.
It makes my eyes dizzy anyway.
Makes your eyes dizzy?
That.
Oh, these people must be really good at art, huh?
But sometimes you can do it in your head. You can just be walking or cleaning your room and you're just praying in your head. Sometimes you can do it out loud. Jackson?
Sometimes my dad at church goes like that.
Yeah.
It looks like he's drunk.
Well, yeah. That's called drunk in the spirit, boy. And that's a good kind of drunk. It is. Courage Academy is a micro school of about 30 kids, and we are in a rural area outside of Augusta, in between Augusta and Andover. We range from ages pre-K clear up to high school. We offer individualized learning, lots of outside nature-y time.
The mission of Courage Academy is to raise courageous believers, strong and courageous believers in Jesus Christ. That's our number one mission. The education comes after that. And we want to, the way we do that is by creating strong relationships with our kids.
What about like on these spots? Or these? You're just gonna leave those? Yeah. Okay, are you ready to go?
I would have never chosen to do something like this that was so difficult, but God gave us the vision individually. Multiple people gave us the vision and the mission individually to start a school. We were teaching in public school for a really long time, and we saw issues with it. Public school is great for a lot of people, a lot of kids. It was great for me. I excelled in public school, but it's not great for a lot of kids. Walking in obedience is one of the coolest things, one of the hardest things that we've done opening up Courage Academy, but one of the coolest, most fulfilling things that we've gotten to do.
In this day and age, it would behoove every parent to ask, do the people raising your children share your values? Do they share your faith? What has happened to education as it's been exported? It has lost the distinctive flavor of the community, specifically of the Christian family, which is why Christian families really need to begin asking, is this the environment for my kids to learn the foundation of their education?
Did I tell you guys when I went to Aroma Coffee Shop, I went in and there was like this mom there, clearly a homeschool mom, and her daughter, and she had her notebook, and the daughter was like all organized and had her note card, and I was like, oh my goodness, look at that mom. She's so amazing. She's like doing the thing. She's homeschooling. She's all organized. The mom had the planner. And she sets it out, and I was literally like kind of like hurting inside. It's like, oh, she's such a good homeschool mom. I know that she's organized and she looks like she has it all together. And I just thought I should encourage her and just let her know she's doing a great job, because clearly to me it looked like she was. And so I just asked, are you a homeschool mom? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, I can just tell you're doing an amazing job. Like, I just really like to see this. I homeschool myself, and it's so fun to see you here with your daughter doing this. And she was like, well, I could not do it without the school that my daughter goes to. And I was like, oh. And all of a sudden, like, my ears perked up, and I'm like, what school is that? And she said, Light Academy. Have you heard of it? And I was like, have I? I was like, oh my goodness. And so she said, like, there's no way I would be able to homeschool if my daughter wasn't going there 2 days a week. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I love to hear. And it just encouraged me so much, you know, for what I'm doing and for what you guys do. It's incredible. You probably hear that a lot from families.
And we say it a lot. I say that often for myself.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be homeschooling if I didn't have Light.
Exactly.
And even if it's not I can't homeschool, I wouldn't do it without Light.
Yeah. And you have not homeschooled before.
No.
And your kids were in public school.
They're in public school.
Now, are you guys against public school? Is that why you decided to start your own?
Absolutely not. That is something that we emphasize at Light. We talk to all of our families about it, all of our staff, even in our staff interviews when we're interviewing teachers or administration, anyone. We want to say that we are not against any schooling option. And we don't believe there's a one-size-fits-all educational model. There isn't. Every family has to pick for their own. So we fully support public school, private school, exclusively homeschool, all of that. That's what we want to emphasize. What we thought would be best for our families didn't exist near us.
Right.
So that's why we started Light. We both thought we would be public school parents, send our kids to public school. Maybe private school if that came up, but homeschooling was not an option in my mind.
All right, so what is the mission of Light Academy?
I would say the mission of Light Academy is providing the best of both worlds. It's the classroom structure and fun and rigor and the collaboration of a classroom with the partnership with a homeschool family. So where kids get to be in the classroom, participate in all of the classroom that's fun and exciting and collaborative and with that instruction from the teacher, but also the flexibility and the beauty of being a homeschool family. It's providing both of those things for the kids, and then that accountability and just partnership with the moms, dads, grandparents, whoever's in charge of that part at home.
Something else I think, if I can add to that I think is cool about Light and even our mission is we don't use like a necessarily Christian curriculum. We use stuff, it's a regular school, public school curriculum, but it's filtered through these teachers who, they're taking a book and they're reading hard stuff. My fourth grader is reading about American Revolution. They're reading, this is not how God intended for people to, interact or to treat others. Or, there's second grade talk about slavery. Like God did not create us to, this does not make him happy. So it's the filter of the light and love of Jesus is in our teachers, every single teacher and staff member. It just flows out of them.
Yeah.
So they're taking these books or these topics that are really important for our kids to know about and to learn, but they're filtering it through that light and love of Jesus. And so I love that for my own kids. They're getting to hear and learn about real things in our history, or in even questions they have. They'll have a question and they'll say, oh, well, let's look at what does the Bible say about that? Or let's, and they pray in class. And so it's a Christian environment, but it's not a Christian school. We don't have just Christian curriculum. Our math and our language arts that we use for our elementary, none of it is just Christian curriculum. It's technically a public school environment. Yeah, and it's just the environment that it's in just makes it so beautiful.
Yeah. It is. It's so light. I mean, I just experience the light when I'm in there. The kids are so happy, so much joy. I'm like, yeah, this is Light Academy.
Yeah,
shining.
Shine bright. That's what our chant is. Yeah.
Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't.
That's good.
The education journey with Charlie has been a struggle, to say the least. When he was little, it was always he doesn't know his letters, he doesn't know his sounds, he doesn't know anything, and we did not actually find out that he's severely dyslexic until 7th grade. I would fight for any kind of help that he could get. I would fight for interventions in the classroom.
I'm Charlie, and at public school I felt like I was dumb, not as smart as the other kids. Just trying not to be seen. Getting annoyed at work and going as fast as possible through everything so I could, in my mind, thought I could get home faster.
So he had told me at one time that he would make himself as small as possible in the classroom. He'd hunch down into the chair and just get as tiny as he possibly could, and then to avoid getting called on, just anything to avoid getting any kind of notice from the teachers or his peers or anybody.
When anybody asked me what my favorite part about public school was, I would always say leaving, because I did not like it at all.
When we found out about Freedom Prep, it was like an answer to prayer. Years of just praying, God, something's got to be better. There's got to be something that's going to work better for Charlie, because I'm just terrified of public school for him. And it was a major answer to prayer. We went to that first information meeting that they had back in February. I don't even remember what year it was, but we were one of the first people that signed up. Before they were even done with the information meeting, we went to the back of the room and we were signing up while they were still talking, because my husband and I just looked at each other and I'm like, this is where he needs to be. So within the first month of school, when she messaged me that your son got up and read his short story in front of the class, I was in absolute shock. I remember going, are you sure you're talking about my son? Because my son doesn't do anything in the front of the classroom if he can avoid it.
So I feel like God has made me open up more and become more relaxed and more not so hidden at school with this school. It's helped me open up as a person.
It's amazing just watching him actually blossom and come alive and be excited about life in general. Go to school without kicking and screaming on a regular basis. It's just been absolutely an amazing experience.
So as I've interviewed several school founders and heard their story, I see that there is this joy returning to the educators. They have an opportunity that they didn't have before when they were in traditional classrooms. Now they have this sense of purpose, and there's this fulfillment and this joy that's returning to them as an educator. They're being creative, and they're allowed to use their creativity.
And then you're gonna just keep going from the outside to the middle, but keep your strings like this.
Start from this one.
Either side, it doesn't matter, as long as you just make sure, because look, if I go 2 sides in a row, look what happens. It just is twisting it.
See in that video of it doing?
Rotating, going faster.
Okay, going faster. Why would it go faster?
Because it has more energy.
More energy, why?
Because it's lighter.
Because it's lighter. Okay.
We start our morning with the kids coming in and getting to play, and then we come together for our devotional time and our prayer time. And these kids, they love it. They will pray for your missing cat until your missing cat comes home. They will pray for their friend or things in the world that they've heard about are going on. They're the sweetest. I love that I get to teach them about God, and we get to have that time together. Then after that, we start our academics, whether it's math or reading, and we have lunch in between. We get to play outside often. We have 4 acres that the kids love to go out and play. Right now, they have been enjoying playing soccer together. We almost have ourselves a little soccer team. And then we come back in and continue academics, followed by enrichment, so project-based learning or getting to work on their own passion and interest projects. And then we wrap up our day with prayer and a closing circle. I get to tell them why I love them.
Whole countries, right? It wasn't just the explorer that said, I'm gonna go do it. It was a whole country, and a country typically has what? Money and power, okay, resources.
Being a part of a Christian-based creative learning environment is amazing. We get to be outside in God's natural world, and the kids get to explore all kinds of ideas and know that we have a creator that loves us and that always has a plan for us no matter what happens. And in this learning environment, the kids get to know the truth of who he is.
About a story I think the majority of you will know, maybe we've even talked about it in the past, but this is one of the best stories in the Bible, called David and Goliath. David and Goliath. Hold your staff right there. He says, I've got my staff. No,
the mission of Green Gate is to create a place for childhood to happen and to stand along each child as they explore their creativity and their intellect and grow in those things, and to encourage character and purpose in the Lord.
During our afternoon, we get to have a fun Bible time. We do story time. We get to pray before we eat. And then we get to hear about children going home and wanting to pray at dinner time, wanting to share the love of God with their family. So it starts when they're little, and then they take it home and spread it to their family.
One of our beliefs here at Green Gate is that we have an enduring purpose, and that enduring purpose is Christ's love, and that every single child that comes through our doors and every family has a plan and a purpose that God has for them, and that calling, we just want to stand alongside them as they figure out what that is. And so this type of learning environment allows them to learn and grow at their own pace, to be outside in nature, and to learn about God's love each and every day.
It really warms your heart and brings joy to see that they are really listening and really taking this in.
Here in Kansas, I see that God is raising an army of people, individuals who are willing to create new schools and provide options for families, and we can be a part of this. Kansas is uniquely situated at the center of the U.S. We are right in the heart of America, and I believe that that's significant. Everything that's important comes from the heart, and where the heart leads, everything else goes along with that. So I believe we have a unique opportunity to lead the nation in this reformation in education.
Just as the heart pumps life through the body, what God is doing here will resonate across the country. From the heart of Kansas, his plans unfold, bringing hope, strength, and transformation that will touch every corner of the nation, spreading his light far and wide.
The mission at Kansas Family Voice is to engage government and government officials with a biblical voice, and we do this through two different ways, legislative policy, and the other is through church engagement.
We're here in the Rotunda in the Kansas State Capitol. We had a phenomenal time together, worshiping, praying for our legislators, praying for officials here in the Kansas State. We're believing God for an outpouring of His Spirit. We're believing God to move through our prayers, through these faithful shepherds that showed up today.
Impart your wisdom and revelation to them and help them to lead each city as you've already destined it to be.
So church engagement. So we are, our goal, our heart is to meet with pastors and with faith leaders and just to try to petition them to engage on these kind of tough cultural issues that are happening. And pastors do that, every Sunday from the pulpit. But oftentimes there's things that happen, Monday through Saturday that need to be engaged and discussed. And a lot of times this all plays out at our state capitals across the nation. And here in Kansas, it's in Topeka.
I think it's so important that we as pastors join together and recognize that God has given us a unique opportunity to be that intercessor, to be that voice, to be that encourager that a lot of times our leadership needs. They need to hear from us. They need to know that we've got their back, that we are praying for them and supporting them. And our job is to come alongside them and pray and ask that God would move in their lives. And God would move in such a powerful way that it would shape the culture, shape the generations to come.
We're believing God for what He's going to do. We're going to believe God for miracles, signs, and wonders here in the Capitol as we pray together, as we seek the Lord's face.
And so we then have our legislative policy where we're going to make sure that legislators, both in the House and Senate, understand the different votes and the different policies that they're being asked to vote on. And what does it mean? How does that impact our Christian worldview and the way in which we operate and live out our lives as Christians? So we weigh in and lean into those arenas as a subject matter expert to try to help them understand it better so they can better vote on those different policies.
Personally, I believe the church needs to engage in government, right? One of the biggest problems we have in this country is the church has stepped back and bought into this separation of church and state, which is a fallacy, right? We need God-fearing people in government, because if you leave people to their own devices, we go down all these paths like we need to protect our children, right? I mean, that should never happen. We need the church engaged at every level of government.
One of the reasons I ran in the first place was because I was so disappointed in the outcomes that we have in our public schools. But what's happened in other states that have a robust school choice, the public schools also get better because suddenly they have competition. And we know that in any area, if there's competition, everyone gets better. They rise to the occasion.
The church is obviously to spread the gospel, to build that foundational truth of morality within our communities. The government is to promote good within the communities, to carry the sword when needed. But the families are to raise up our children. That is what He calls us to do. So between the families and the church, they should partner together to create that environment so that they can learn and understand.
Tonight we're hosting an event. It's called Classical Christian Education, Unexpected Places. You know, when people think about classical education, they think that it's, you know, a certain demographic, a certain place where that exists. Tonight exists to say, no, classical Christian education is for all kinds of people, all around the world, right, in every place, right? We want a rich education for everybody. So we have, you know, organizations represented here that are starting schools in Wales, they're doing schools in Africa, they're doing schools for special needs children, and they're bringing the richest of education to those who cannot afford it in a radically accessible way. And those 5 C's of the C5 Urban School Initiative are classical, Christian, in the church, in the community being served for the Great Commission.
Now, God, we come to you in this moment because we recognize that without Christ, we can do nothing. We come to you right now because we are reminded that unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain.
My name is Josh Dyson. I've been the head of school at Classical School of Wichita for the past 6.5 years and served for 4 years before that as the director of operations, so 10.5 years at Classical School Wichita. It's been a great privilege to serve there, and been able to see that grow from 230 students to about 460 students in our time there. But as we continue to discern through and go before the Lord of what, God, where's your heart? Where do you want us to be? The Lord continue to put on our heart, say, we want look at the center of our city, look at the urban core, look at these children who cannot access the education that that many of their children can access, and that's where we felt like God was saying, we want you to be there serving them. For third graders, it is 12% of third graders that are able to read at a proficient levels, 12%. Our vision is to partner specifically with churches that already are in neighborhoods. We want to be in every neighborhood in our city so that every child in the city of Wichita has a school within walking distance that they can go get the richest of Christian educations available. But the number one reason that partnership with the churches is essential, as I mentioned earlier, is that Jesus Christ gave a promise to the church that he gave no one else. He didn't give it to you as an individual. He didn't give it to any nonprofit organizations. He certainly didn't give it to a government. We said to St. Peter, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Yeah, so there's 2 ways that we're hoping the church will come alongside us, and then we want to come alongside the church. One of those is that there's financial opportunities to come, there are volunteer opportunities to come, but particularly where we're really excited about is that there's a number of churches that already have facilities, they're already living in the communities, they already have a passion for the communities that they're in, and we are coming to say, hey, there's a way that we can help you reach that community, your neighborhood, in a way that is transformative. 15,000 hour opportunity of education, right? Kindergarten through 12th grade, that's how long a student is in school. So we want to come and help those churches be able to have a ministry of education in their churches for their community.
I am Bishop Wade Moore. I am the founder and dean of the Urban Prep Academy. Now, you heard my name, it was Bishop Wade Moore, meaning that I pastor a church and I run a school every day. People often ask me, how in the world do you pastor a church and run a school? Well, it's all ministry to me. It's not separating the church and separating the school. It is ministry. It's fulfilling the Great Commission of going into all the world and preaching the gospel and making disciples of them. My vision is that the earlier we begin to make children disciples by teaching them the Word of God, having them in a spiritual, Christ-driven community, that we are more effective in developing our children. So we, the church, have to be involved in the educational journey of our children. We see what has happened when we have relinquished our God-given right to worldly systems and where it has taken our children. And it's time for the church to take back the minds of its children and the minds of those that are even unchurched, and to evangelize the world and to bring them in so that they may know Jesus Christ and so they may have a great education. And we see how education is changing. And not just education, I believe that there is a revival for the church, and there's a revival for the way that we do ministry. And we are seeing so many micro schools pop up, so many people that have this burden and this passion to really do ministry and to educate their children.
Oh, it's in terza rima, that's material cause. That's what it's made out of. Terza rima in Italiano. The poem, it's a long poem. Okay. But why? Concordia Academy in Wichita is a recognized service organization of the Missouri Synod, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. That means that we're not actually part of any one church, any one Lutheran church around here, but we're supported by a variety of churches. So we have a fairly wide support. Lutherans from all around the state. We even get some people interested from out of state in this project. We've been going since 2022. This is our first, that was our first year of classes. We're in our third year of classes right now.
I'll take it from you right now.
Emily the bully. From Ptolemaic universe, right, to when Copernicus with Tycho Brahe saw elliptical orbits, that was one of these happening. Because the idea was if the universe is ordered, then all of these orbits are going to be perfect circles.
Divine.
What's great about what we have going on today, this wonderful movement, is it's a revitalization for myself. I grew up in the Lutheran school system. I attended a 3-room country school, Lutheran school, 1st through 8th grade, Bremen Lutheran School, that was started in 1868. I was in the same classroom as my dad and all of my uncles. My grandparents attended school here. My great-grandparents attended school here. I had generations behind me helping me grow through my faith. And now today, I get to come in here every single day and be part of this. This isn't a job, this is my vocation.
So the Virgil is more complex. So here's what's happened. So by the time you get to medieval times, the poems are written in shorter, like square meters, like 8. The idea is that if you want your church to educate your children for as long as possible, and to start early, but also to walk along beside them in the word we call paideia, the old way of teaching, which is walk along beside them throughout their life so that they are raised in the love of the church. They are raised in the ways of Christ, that they spend hours that way. Not just thinking thoughts occasionally, you know, and being reminded maybe every Sunday or something, but to actually live their life as if Christ mattered, to include him in your life and to be in the life of the church, and that's, your school should be bound up in that.
Okay, so today we are headed up to Kansas City, and it's bittersweet. It's bitter because Refine KC, it's a micro school up there, they've outgrown their space. They are moving from one church, and it's been a great location for them and a great strong partnership, but they've outgrown it. So they're moving into another church, and that's the sweet part of this is that this other church has been praying for the opportunity, and we get to see them move in.
You know, if you're a church looking to host a Christian school, I think the one thing that I would say is, you know, it's a unity that we all have that, again, it's all God's. And so we've seen it in all the things that God's provided us as far as a school, as far as resources, but, you know, really God provided Tower View. God provided this space to get started. God provided your people to come alongside of us as well. And so that was huge for us.
We knew we wanted to minister. We know our congregation is getting older, so they can't do the work as well. But they knew, like, we want to help. We want to be a part of this. And we're sorry to see you have to move to a new place. We have people who want to grab a shovel and start digging to build a new building right now.
Yeah.
And but we were proud that we were able to birth this school and get you going.
Yeah, and we really don't want to leave either. It's just, I mean, if you guys had more space, you know, we'd stay as long as we could, just because the relationship has been that good with Tower View.
So this whole thing is a really fun, sad chapter. This was our community outreach, and it was a country club before that. And we said, hey, this is what the Lord has provided. Let's use it to the best of our ability. Let's do what we can, and let's serve who we can, and let's be faithful. So we operated the recreation ministry for about 36 or 7 years. Friday nights, we had easily 200 people here. We'd have a grill going. We'd do outdoor movies and set up a screen. And it was just a community engagement. It was a way of building relationships. And it was wild. I have a lot of blood, sweat, and tears out here.
Will tell you where some of this loose stuff goes. There's only two.
So either in January or February, we finished up our gymnasium. There was a bunch of red tape with the city, and so now we're able to use the gymnasium and occupy that. And so that's going to be one of our new pivots. That's going to be another community engagement, community outreach. And then another angle is the mostly empty building during the week. And we said, hey, let's host a school. Let's get the gym fired up and get it online. This chapter might be closing, but there's another chapter in front of us. Let's go, come on.
Talking to pastors, we need to take proactive in educating our children. The schools are not doing it in a godly way. We need to take our space and say, we want to raise our children in a godly way, with godly schools, with godly teachers.
In John 15, when Jesus is talking about pruning, I think of some of the ministries and the operations here at Sherwood that were fruitful in their time, they were productive, they were beautiful, and God blessed them. And at the time when those were ending, the Lord pruned that, and that season is done, and we're moving into the next chapter.
Homeschool co-ops are a powerful way for churches to partner in education, offering a community of support for families. Through shared resources, classes, and mentorship, these co-ops provide a faith-based environment where children grow academically and spiritually. Churches can play a key role in shaping future generations by fostering collaboration and a love for learning.
We have 75 kids in our co-op, ranging from 6 months to 18 years old, and we offer all of those classes within that age range. We have preschool, kindergarten, we have our middle schoolers and then our high schoolers, and we offer classes for all of them. We meet at Reliance Church, and we've been there we're going on
our first year.
Our first year
here.
Yeah. So today, our church building was used in a variety of ways. We dissected baby pigs in the lobby today, and they had one pig to every 2 kids, and it was amazing. They all took turns like cutting into it. So on this side of the building, they were dissecting pigs, and on the other side, they were having a fiesta. And they were eating chips and guacamole and Mexican cookies and all kinds of stuff. So 2 very different classes happening at the same time, but nonetheless learning. So, lemonade, dissecting pigs, Mexican fiesta. That happened today in co-op.
In the Bible, where
Moses is supposed to be holding his hands up and while the war is happening. And as long as his hands are raised, their Israelites are winning. And as soon as his hands get tired, they start losing. And so Aaron, and I think it's her, get on the other side and they hold his arms up for him. And so community, co-op is that. When my arms are so tired, my friends can come and help hold my arms up.
We absolutely love our partnership with Life Co-op. They have been such a joy in the church. We love coming in on Mondays and seeing every room filled with these students. There's laughter. Love to see how the parents are engaging with not only their children, but also other parents' children, and seeing them teach these kids, yes, the foundation of education, but also knowing that they carry the faith of the Lord.
I love you. I love you so much. Oh my gosh, that's good.
As educational opportunities grow, so does the need for specialized resources and experts to guide the way.
I have experience as a microschool founder myself and a homeschool co-op director. As I was serving in those two roles, I realized there are certain needs that we need that will help us with administrative things, keeping track of assignments, organizing our tasks, keeping a calendar. So that is the whole reason that Hero exists, to provide these types of resources.
Spark School Software is a new school management program designed for alternative educators, Christian educators, anybody who have wanted to come out of the traditional system and start a school as a passion project or a calling from the Lord. So Spark started as a way to give students and families more power over their education. So we have a pretty robust learning management system where teachers can assign assignments and students can submit them through their portal, parents can view them on their portal, and teachers can just communicate with the whole family a lot more easily that way. So a student would sign on to their portal. It would be dedicated just to them, and they would view their assignments, any instructions, links, or attachments. They would submit the assignments. They can also view goals and submit their progress and work through goals at their own pace. And then they can chat with teachers and guardians. They can purchase rewards if the teachers have those for them to purchase. They can view school events and activities. I believe that one of Spark's biggest assets is its team. All of us have come from some sort of alternative education background. A lot of us were homeschooled. Several of us have founded a co-op or a micro school and taught in those. Some of us taught English overseas and supervised schools there. And so our team has a really deep commitment to educating students, especially in the Christian faith. We're all believers in the Lord, and so that's very important for us as a team. Well, I was homeschooled as a child, but then I also homeschooled my own kids starting in kindergarten, so for about 12 years now. And I've helped found a co-op and lead it. I've taught in the co-op, taught in a friend's micro school. I have a micro school now. So a lot of different experiences in the education realm. And I've seen that having a good school management software really makes a difference, especially with kids and motivating them and giving them power over their own education. It really makes a difference. So we were motivated to build this software because there's a lot out there for large schools and districts, a lot of software programs that are complicated and expensive, but we really couldn't find anything that would fit the alternative education market. And we wanted to help these faith-based schools do what God has called them to do and make it easier for them. Spark's mission is to provide a world-class school management system for alternative educators so they can do what God has called them to do.
Every creative Christian learning environment that I visit has unique needs, whether it's they need administrative support through a software or a platform, or perhaps they're a school that's been in existence for 5 or 10 years and they're bursting at the seams and they need connections with facilities. It might be coaching or consulting, but we are here to support them and to meet their needs as they fulfill their mission. So I have Christy from Soaring Education Services. Thank you for being with us today.
Glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me. At Soaring Education Services, we're dedicated to making Christian education accessible and affordable for anybody who wants it. So by doing that, we put together a system that helps you to dream your school, design your school, build your school, and even grow your school. And so all of that can be found on our resource hub. There's a lot of free resources that we've put together that I consider to be kind of a treasure trove or a gold mine of information designed to guide you through every step of the school development process. But we also offer coaching and individual lessons and sessions for people as they need it. Maybe you need to dream your school. Maybe you need to create your mission, vision, and values. Maybe you need to write a handbook. Soaring can be with you every step of the way.
That's great. Can you tell us what exactly is the mission of Soaring?
So our mission is to make Christian education accessible and affordable for all.
That's incredible, because we know that not all of these traditional schools are affordable for everybody or accessible for everybody. So there's like these innovative models, right? There's these micro schools and smaller schools that are starting that are a simplified version of what we might know as those traditional Christian schools. Tell me a little bit about Open Sky and their relationship with Soaring Education Services.
Absolutely. So Open Sky exists to kind of be the catalyst for all of these things in innovative Christian education. Not only do they have Soaring as one of their brands, but they also have other brands that have charter schools, both public charter schools and Christian charter schools. They work in the curriculum space, and they do a lot of work in the school choice movement. This is a group of well-loved, seasoned Christian educators that has come together to really help to make this plan available for everyone.
So Open Sky has worked traditionally with more of the conventional Christian schools, the bigger school models, brick and mortar, all these classrooms, multiple teachers. But now the Soaring Education Services is specific to this new, it's like a new division that's specific for micro schools. Is that right?
That is right. So while we would say that we would help you start any innovative form of education, our main goal is to help in the micro school space. Now that term can mean anything, 250 or less or so is our definition, but we realize that most of these are maybe only going to start with 5 or 10 students, and we think that's wonderful. Soaring offers 3 main services. We have 3 kind of lanes that we like to stick in. We have our coaching and consulting. We have our online resource hub that's completely free. And we are also building right now a group of mentors to hopefully help others who are wanting to start a school.
Good, strong Christian schools across the country are full. Right now, the Herzog Foundation position is we want to be a catalyst for a movement, and some of the greatest obstacles to a single mom with her kids is dollars. But with all that in mind, you know, where we can give parents real choice, single moms and 2-parent families options to get their kids out of an environment that's hostile to their faith, we're looking at all options.
My name is Christy, and I am with the Florida Citizens Alliance. Well, what we do is we have a team of education consultants, and we help churches and individuals start these non-traditional learning environments.
I would just say this, that you know what the devil meant for evil, God meant for good. And certainly COVID began to expose parents to what's happening in the classroom. And frankly, parents were coming to the conclusion that the public school that they grew up in isn't the same public school that their children are being raised in. And as a result of that, I mean, for the last 3 years, really, we have seen this mass exodus from public education and a huge influx into Christian schools and launching
more Christian schools, more homeschool groups, more micro schools, and it's happening all over the country.
So it was a fantastic event, 24 hours from noon to noon. And I think really one of the highlights, so many highlights, but really towards the end, just having an opportunity for people to explain, who's the one person they're going to connect with after this, what is the one thing they're going to do to continue to move affordable K-12 and post-K-12 education forward.
We're serious about, at the grassroots level, helping empower those who are running homeschools and Christian schools to really, based on best practices, to get an understanding and training. All of our trainings, for the most part, we'll do 20 trainings right in this very room.
Israel, go Emma, go Trisha, go. There you go. Yes, this table, yes.
Yeah, we named our school St. Boniface Academy because of the story of St. Boniface. He was an 8th century missionary to the Germanic people. And he went to this tribe, to this village, and what he found was some of the Germanic pagans worshiping Thor around what's called Donner's Oak. And it was this massive oak tree. And they would come and they would worship Thor there. No one could touch the tree lest Thor strike them down with lightning. They would sacrifice there. They'd even do human sacrifices beneath this tree. And Boniface, this missionary, walks up with all of the confidence of the living God and challenges these pagans to basically the strength of Thor versus the strength of Christ. And he said he's going to return the next day, and when he comes, he's going to chop down the tree. And everybody was almost excited for it, because as soon as Boniface would strike the tree, Thor would strike him dead. Boniface walks up with some of his missionary companions. He takes his axe, he wields it, he swings it, he hits the tree, and the story goes that there was a great gust of wind that toppled that tree. Thor's oak fell, and at that moment, the pagans that were there believed in Christ. They saw that Jesus had more power than Thor. But Boniface didn't end with that. He also took the tree and he milled it, and they turned it into a chapel, which became part of the headquarters of the whole missionary movement in that area with education. They had schools there, they had worship services there. They took the idols of the day, didn't get rid of them completely, but rather reformed them, reshaped them, and used them for the glory of God. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to see our kids go into this world, identify the idols of this world, and seek to chop them down, fall the oaks, and use them to build the kingdom of God.
Or stack to put these together. What's our word?
For generation to generation. I think this is the call of the church as well, right? The church is to be about this. Every single church should be involved in this action, involved in this mission, to chop down the trees, the idols of our day, to see reformation come. And we can do this through education. We can do this by partnering with schools.
Maybe you grew up like I did in an environment where there wasn't a Christian foundation, or maybe you didn't grow up seeing people who were active. Maybe everybody in your kind of circle of influence was more of a spectator. That's certainly what we've seen in the last couple of generations. That doesn't matter. God can place a pioneer spirit in you right now, and it really is time for pioneers to step up. And when you're a pioneer, it means that you don't necessarily have someone to look to follow after, because you're kind of blazing the trail. But you think about how America was founded with a pioneer spirit. That's in all of us.
The word says that we are to pass on from one generation to the next how good God is. And we believe the scripture that says if you train your children up in the way that they should go, when they grow old, they will not depart from it. And so there is a plea to the church. Would you awaken in our responsibility for this generation?
I mean, we want to make disciples that will go out into this world and transform it for the glory of God, to build His kingdom, to advance His kingdom, to see society and culture, from politics and art and education, entertainment, industry, flourish under the lordship of Christ. This happens through education. This happens through discipleship.
There is a network of micro schools that are working together that can assist a pastor that may have thought about this or may have a vision for it in developing a micro school there at your church.
It's a blessing and an honor that we have this opportunity, and as we step out in these acts of obedience to God, we continue to see Him show up and surprise us even more than we have imagined.
On this smaller scale here in a micro school, we just have the opportunity to encourage our kids in their walk with Christ, and that's the number one goal for us.
Nothing else matters. I mean, if kids know Jesus, that at the end of the day, no matter what your school looks like, no matter if it's a large school, a small school, a rural school, a micro school, a homeschool co-op, as long as the kids know Jesus, nothing else matters.
Our goal is to perpetuate the confession of Christ, to perpetuate literacy, the kind that leads to people coming into contact with the Scripture, and also to educate people so that they're a blessing to their fellow man, to their neighbors.
So in Deuteronomy chapter 6, a passage of Scripture that we're all familiar with is called the Shema, where we find God speaking to His people through Moses, and He gives this charge, and we all know it, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. But there's another part of it that I think is equally, if not even more valuable and more important, and that's to pass that same love for the Lord on to the next generation. So as parents, talk about it when you walk by the way, when you get up, when you go to sleep, write these things on your doorposts, bind them on your hearts so that the next generation will receive the faith from the previous generation. And I think that's always haunted me in the Scriptures is when you jump ahead to Joshua 24, you see Joshua give a similar charge, choose today to the next generation whom you will serve. The gods and the Amorites are the gods of your ancestors, but beyond the Euphrates, or the Lord God, the King of heaven. And then that generation, something happens and there's a break. And then we meet the next generation in Judges 2, and the Bible says they knew not the Lord nor the things He had done. And so my heart when it comes to educating and discipling the next generation is that we as the church need to, regardless of your view on public education, homeschool, private Christian education, it is our responsibility as followers of Jesus to pass on what we know about the Lord and the things He has done to them.
Just one pastor to another. It's time that our church is just our church, my church, your church gets involved in educating the next generation of Christians.
Now is the time for churches and pastors to get involved in educating our children. There has never been a greater time than now to be involved.
All we have to do is step in faith, step across that line and say, Lord, use me. Here am I, Lord, send me. What can I do? What can I do? What's in my hand right now? Let that pioneering spirit be released in you as it was in our founding fathers.
Isaiah 43:19 says, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? It will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." I believe that God is doing a new thing, and schools look different than they did before.
The reason that we're sitting here today is because someone went before us and paved a way. It's our responsibility not to give up, not to throw in the towel, not to shrink back, but to step forward and activate that pioneering spirit right now, wherever we are.